What's up, Cougar Nation, and welcome again aboard the Hype Train podcast. I am your host, Joe Wheat. That's at Joey27 on Twitter. As always, with my boy Trevor Levitt and Chandler Miller today. Boys, I just got one question. How fast can we get John Denver to write a song about Tucson, Arizona?
I could imagine it's instead of almost heaven, it's just almost hell with how hot it gets out there.
Like BYU now is beating back-to-back teams with songs written by John Denver. And I think we need to keep that streak going as long as humanly possible. I don't know what we got to do to get Bear Bachmeyer to sing the Arizona fight song at an old folks home, whatever we got to do. Good vibes got to keep flowing.
Is there a song that's like, is there any song about Arizona?
Route 66? The entirety of the Cars soundtrack.
I once heard somebody call Arizona the desert Delaware, like no one goes there on purpose. Like, so while we're in hate week, might as well like throw it out there.
Yeah, that makes sense. So someone, I think it was Boney Fuller in 2016, said, what was it? Arizona is what happens when you combine Florida and hell into one place. But I'm not doing that anymore. I'm not trash talking opposing fan bases. I completely forgot about that for about 20 minutes. So
see, you weren't saying that. Boney was saying that. You were just the messenger.
That is correct. BYU wins. I think we all expected them to win. It got a little weird there for a second. Gotta say, shout out to everyone who lives on the East Coast. I watched that game from a hotel room in Orlando, and I don't know if it was just that it was late. I was getting really frustrated despite the fact that BYU was up 21 points. Everyone who was watching the game with me, namely my family who really watches one game with me a year, probably thought I was crazy because they're like, Joe, they're winning. Why do you care? And I'm like, but you don't understand. There's a graph and a chart and like things that come out on Monday morning. And if BYU doesn't win those, then BYU's going to lose the transitive victory over Utah and all these different things. And I look like Charlie from Always Sunny in Philadelphia, trying to explain how that touchdown that put the game within 14 points did actually matter, despite it having no impact on the actual game.
I do have to laugh too, because that was by far, I think, the largest discrepancy in that did we really get beat that bad graph. And so I feel like the more satisfied I am, the more on the wrong side of that graph BYU somehow tends to be.
So let's talk about it. Like, what were your takeaways from the game? Because my takeaway, like, again, I got some comments this week about, again, stupid rivalry stuff, that I always get mixed in with somehow. I know how, but I'm just going to pretend I don't. There's going to be a lot of comparison with how BYU performed in that game and how Utah performed in their game against West Virginia. The stats, like when you look at the box score, the stats were pretty much identical. Based on what I saw from college football data, the net success rate, which is the source data for did we really get beat that bad, BYU had a higher net success rate than Utah. Not that everything needs to be about the rivalry, but like BYU plays Utah next week, so naturally there's going to be some comparisons made. But people are saying like, BYU struggled with West Virginia, they struggled with Colorado. Like that's kind of the narrative that's coming along with this win. BYU didn't struggle at all. Like that, I think that is what was so frustrating, is that the final score didn't articulate just how dominant BYU was in that football game. Like from this, like once BYU went up 14 with 3 minutes to go in the first quarter, it never got closer than that. BYU's defense did what BYU's defense does. This, again, the scoreboard doesn't reflect that because unfortunately BYU's offense spotted them, West Virginia 14 points, and then they get a garbage time touchdown with under a minute to go. Like BYU's defense, I thought played excellent, but again, it just kind of leaves a sour taste in your mouth because you had 4 turnovers, because you had some really sloppy breaks by the BYU defense that kept this from being as lopsided as it probably should have been.
I had the pleasure of watching the game with Trevor there in the north end zone. And I had a lot of fun, but as Joe mentioned, we were also not having as much fun near the end of the game, despite being up 21 and then 14. Because I think both of us were thinking, like, the AP voters who we've caught on don't actually really watch a lot of the games are going to look at the final score and think, oh, okay, like BYU struggled with West Virginia, when that wasn't really the case, right? Like, it was never super close. We saw snaps from players who we hadn't seen snaps from up until this point in the season, getting in towards the end of the game, and we still had a goal line snap. Like, there's a lot of things to be encouraged about, but it was frustrating there at the end to give up an extra score, make it seem like it was closer than it actually was. But there's never a moment where I was actually stressed about, oh, we might lose this game, like we were against Colorado there in the first half.
Yeah, I have to laugh just a little bit because last week I had made a comment about West Virginia coming into the game was first in the country in red zone scoring, and we had kind of made the joke about, like, well, they have to get there for that to matter. And if it wasn't for turnovers from our own offense, they don't get there. And so it just felt like the final score did not tell the full story of the game. Like, when you have 2 touchdowns that are earned off of 25 yards, it just, the defense worked too hard for, as Chandler said, for voters to look at this game and think, oh, that defense, we hear it's vaunted, we hear all this different stuff, like that defense gave up 24 points. That defense gave up 10 points. That defense kept them from moving the football even after Isaiah Glasker and Jack Kelly went out. Like, that defense had a goal line stand. Like, that defense did all sorts of, we talked about net success rate, just all sorts of success. But then, Jovessa Dalmooney has a fumble. Bear throws his first pick and then has a ball tipped on a speed option play. And so for me, like, the offense looked good and was rewarded with having, 30 plus points, but the defense was great, but was rewarded with a 24 point, outing from West Virginia, when most of that was just not their fault.
Absolutely. So let's talk about the offense first, because I think there's a lot of really positive things to take away from this game from an offensive perspective, and then I got a couple of hot takes for you guys once we're kind of finished with the game recap that I want your guys' opinions on. Couple things that really impressed me with the offense. It feels like this season has had such a natural progression of, especially for Bear Bachmeier, we see him come off. We see him a little shaky against Portland State, but you see the potential. Like, you see the vision of what this BYU offense is trying to be with him. Against Stanford, he probably has his weakest game of the season. They don't really let him throw downfield a lot, but again, he's playing a power 4 team for the first time. His completion percentage was really good. And so you leave that game feeling pretty good, especially about his intermediate passing game. ECU, he has his best passing game, has a really, really efficient night, especially in the second half there once things got going. Colorado, it was impressive that we saw him face his real adversity. And the question is okay, when games get tight this year, can we rely on this quarterback to go and get the job done in a tough environment against a solid team? Can he win the game for us? And he did. In this game, it was nice to see okay, once he starts turning the football over, because he is going to turn the football over at some point this season, what is he going to look like in the immediate aftermath? If this is what he looks like in the immediate aftermath, we might have the best BYU quarterback we've seen in the last 5 years. Because his first 2 throws after that, I think averaged 85 yards to Chase Roberts and 40 yards to Parker Kingston. Absolute dimes. I had a lot of people in my mentions. I talked about how obsessed I was with that throw to Chase Roberts. And people were talking to me that's not that difficult of a throw. I don't know why you're so amazed by that. That's an insane throw. Okay. Chase isn't running a post route there. Chase is running a go. Go back and watch that. There was a very small window that you have to make that throw to hit him in stride like that. He is running a vertical. He throws that ball as hard as he possibly can on a rope, hits Chase Roberts in stride, and the only place he hits Chase Roberts in the only place that he can hit him and still get yards after the catch, and he turned that out for an 85-yard gain. Like, if that's the Bear Bachmeier that we see after turnovers, BYU has a really, really good player on their hands in Bear.
And I think this is going to sound like total copium, but if there was a game that you want Bear Bachmeier to turn the ball over, like for his first time, it's against West Virginia. It's not Arizona on the road. It's not the Holy War. Like I think there's just kind of this monkey that gets off your back in a way. Like every game, it was like the true freshman hasn't turned the ball over. Like he's amazing. We called him a cyborg, like whatever. And maybe he is, because it took him all of one play to recalibrate and get back to work after each turnover. But for him to kind of understand, what that feels like, what that looks like against the team, whereas, Chandler mentioned earlier, like this game really wasn't like within reach for West Virginia at any point. I think the difference between a game that somebody's in and with BYU and a game that they're not in with BYU is the difference between me being nervous and me being frustrated. And I was more frustrated with this game than I was nervous at any point in this game. And so I'm glad, in a way. I'm glad that, he threw his first pick, and mind you, it was to West Virginia's best defensive player who made a good play. And so for him to get that out of the way, I think ultimately that's going to be beneficial for him. I feel the same way with Will Ferrell's 2 missed kicks. I just think every game, especially after he had made 20 plus, like every game that he continued and every kick he continued to kick that he hadn't missed, I think the pressure just mounts more and more. And I think for, in this case, for Bear to kind of get settled in, get his hands dirty a little bit and have a turnover is ultimately going to be beneficial.
This is going to sound like a LeBron lying for no reason type of thing, but I remember telling Trevor before the game, like I would much rather have Bear's first turnovers come when we're up 17 against West Virginia and he's trying to master the more difficult passing concepts that A-Rod wants him to get down ahead of much tougher games ahead. And ultimately it ended up happening on, I won't call it a stupid screen, but it was a screen pass that we saw Jake turn the ball over last year. It's in the same play against SMU. Our friend Nate posted the clip of the play from from Bear's angle, and you can see the linebacker is kind of still engaged with Bruce Mitchell when he's winding up to throw it. So I just kind of chalk it up to bad luck, but it has been great to see Bear get more of kind of a mastery of the offense and kind of see him grow week to week. And this is the perfect time for him to hit his stride.
Yeah, I mean, I can witness. He did say that we were walking up one of the what you'd even call that, the tunnels concourse, or whatever that goes up to the top concourse. But he called it. So either Chandler's a genius or he's bad luck. We'll find out.
Let's see.
But I think like in terms of, again, like the turnovers notwithstanding, those turnovers are always frustrating. This was not a bad night for the BYU offense. Like it was a little bit sloppy on a couple of plays. I'm just going to read you guys the drive chart on so this is every non-turnover drive. Okay. Field goal attempt, touchdown, 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 field goal attempt, touchdown. That was BYU's non-turnover drive. At one point during the game, so like BYU this season, I think is like top 20 in available yards gained. You hear me say that stat all the time. If you haven't heard it, it's basically of the yards available to you, how many do you get? It's a great way to neutralize pace of play, how many opportunities you get, whatever. For me, it's the best measure of how your offense is actually moving the football. BYU like average, like top 25 is around 61% of available yards. On non-turnover drives in this game, BYU gained 92% of the available yards. Pretty good. And again, like I'm not going to pretend like West Virginia is some like incredible football team. we saw this West Virginia team hold a Power 4 offense to like 14 points against Pitt. Okay, like this team has some talent to them. At one point, like before coming into the day, they had a 42% pressure rate on opposing quarterbacks. They had a 13% pressure rate in this game. So the offensive line did a great job protecting Bear. Again, this isn't like they're not a great defense, but they're not an awful defense. I'm trying to think of, hold please as I look up their defensive efficiency. But any way you slice it, this was a dominant game from the BYU offense. And again, like this is just the next step in the progression. I feel like BYU's offense has played well all season long. On average, their available yards gained this season has been 83% against Portland State, 58% against Stanford, 63%, 62%, 66%. So again, this season, the offense has just continued to get better at moving the football every week. And I think as we continue to see Bear, those handcuffs come off a little bit, I think we could see those similar type of results, even as the schedule starts to get a little bit more difficult in the coming weeks.
And just to throw a word in for Hunter in his absence, we're actually scoring the points too once we get down the field.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I think it's great. One of the things for me that's been great to watch was the emergence, or I guess I shouldn't say emergence, but maybe more of the redemption of Parker Kingston in this game. He even said so after the game. He felt like this was, kind of more of what he was expecting going into this year, that he had gotten better over the offseason, and that this were the kind of the results that he wanted out of this game. I think to have two receivers over 100 yards receiving was big. Every single week, it's interesting because it almost feels like fall camp this year because of, the time that Bear came in and the amount of time that he had to work with the offense. It's almost like fall camp was spring ball. And then the first couple of games have been the actual fall camp for the offense. And as Joe mentioned, like just the progression each week, like the different, parts of the offense that are being implemented, the chemistry that's growing between Bear and his receivers, or as Sporty calls them, his bare necessities, which I think is hilarious. It's been huge. And I think as we head into the meat of the schedule, like he's got a good relationship with Chase Roberts. Parker Kingston's got his swagger back. Like LJ Martin continues to be a dog. And then on top of that, the offensive line is continuing to just gel more and more each and every week. So as great as the players played on Saturday, I just think the coaching staff as a whole deserves a round of applause for these first 5 weeks, as far as just like mastering, like, this is what we need to win. This is what, where we need to be schedule wise for the offense and the defense. And just kind of just by small increments, just like continuing to improve, not plateauing at any point. And it's kind of created this expectation with me where it's like, okay, like next big step against Arizona is what? And then on Sunday, I'll have an answer.
I saw, like, to your point about the coaching staff, I saw a super interesting stat. It was a chart showing how the teams perform on scripted drives versus unscripted drives. BYU, I think, was in like the top 15 in unscripted drive performance, which tells you that we have a coaching staff on both sides of the ball that knows how to make adjustments in game. Like this isn't a coaching staff or a team that has to rely on things going right when things are going according to plan. This team is actually better when things don't go according to plan and they have to make these adjustments on the fly. So I think that's a huge positive for BYU so far this season. Flipping it over to the defense, this one, for whatever reason, just felt kind of weird. Like the defense performed so much better again than the final score would indicate. Like, and again, in terms of available yards, this was their lowest output of the last 3 weeks. So they performed better than they did against ECU and Colorado. Their touchdown drives that they got were like 25 total yards. So it's really hard to judge how the defense performed in this game. But from a pure box score number, like I'll live with 291 yards of offense with 60 of those yards coming on their final garbage time drive.
Yeah, it's about what you can expect when you turn the ball over at about the 20 and then about the 5. And
yeah,
I felt like it was pretty stingy defense all night. It was kind of a classic Jay Hill defensive night, but it's just tough to expect a shutout there when we're handing the ball to them so close to the end zone. And then, again, at the end of the game with kind of our third stringers in for the most part.
Well, I got to say, I was really impressed with how well the run defense played all night long. Like West Virginia, we knew that, with their quarterback issues that they had coming into the night, West Virginia wasn't going to try and throw the football a ton. And they didn't. They ran the ball on 47 of their 65 plays. They really couldn't get anything going, especially in that second half, even after Jack Kelly went down. It was just stuff after stuff after stuff. Funny enough, the only way they could move the ball during the game was through the air. I think they averaged 7.5 yards per attempt. West Virginia did. So in terms of running the football, I was really impressed. I thought John Tamoipeau had a great game. That's hopefully only going to get better once Justin Kirkland comes back in. But again, like in the high leverage spots in this game, BYU's defense proved to still be a brick wall. Like they had a goal line stand when that felt like it really mattered, even though the game was never in doubt. They had a couple of fourth down stops on 4th and short. Like they showed that even if it was a little weird at times on Saturday, this is still a defense that can pin their ears back and make a stop when you need them to in short yardage.
Yeah, it's I think one of the biggest factors in all this, like that you pointed out, is post Jack Kelly, right? This is and in some points like post Isaiah Glasker, who they sat out just precautionary wise. To have that goal line stand and have it be a pretty big mix of like twos, like a couple threes. I think like the defensive line, I think you could tell how bad Kalani wanted it. Like he kind of threw in like the defensive line guys like right at the end to make sure that we wrapped everything up. But in that drive in particular, and I know that he's a starter now, but to have Satuala, I felt like be kind of the leader out there, just showed me how much depth BYU has developed from 2023 even to now, where you can have guys go down, and you saw like Siale Sarah, like he goes in there, like he looks good. Talmoi Payao, like being a freshman, like he looks good. I believe even was named to like the first team Big 12 for defensive tackle in this game. For the week.
He was on the national team for PFF.
Yeah, that's
tackle. He was the best defensive tackle in the country this week.
And so to just have so much good production from so many young guys in replacement of some of these dudes that we expect big things out of all the time, like as the season wears on, as the game, the whole, like think of how much like depth is going to benefit in like the Holy War, or in a kind of grinded out game like I expect Texas Tech's going to be. Like the defense, like the game itself was weird, but I felt like the defense shined, and especially the depth pieces outside of like one play really, which was like the end of game deep ball. For me, it did my heart a lot of good, not only for this year, but like just moving forward in general.
Yeah, like the stuff rate for BYU's defense in this game was 22% of the rushing attempts got stuffed for basically no gain. So let's talk about Jack Kelly. I think that's kind of when the air went out of the stadium. It was one of those where like, okay, we know we're going to win, but at what cost? According to sources, I think Jack Kelly's in a good spot. I don't anticipate he's going to miss a super long range of time. I think BYU fans will be very encouraged at his injury status. I'm not sure that he's going to play this week, maybe even just for precautionary reasons, but I think it's definitely not season ending. I definitely don't think he'll miss like an extended period of time. So That's good news. Isaiah Glasgow, I don't expect him to miss any time. Again, there might be a chance he'll miss the game just for precautionary reasons, but he could have gone back in and played. That is legit. That what we heard on the broadcast there. Otherwise, knock on wood, man. BYU's been really blessed in the injury department this year. Like we kind of made those comments, before the game. I think BYU only had 4 players that were sitting out, and only like 1 or 2 of them were starters. So BYU's been very blessed with that. Let's hope that continues another week, because there's an important game coming up next week and this week, because this is when the gauntlet really starts to get huge. Anything else you guys want to cover for the West Virginia game?
Yeah, actually, I know what I said earlier about him, but is there any concern for Will Farron? Like, where's he at? Where are we at with? Is it panic time yet? Where are we?
I mean, he missed one. This guy. So here's the funny thing about Will Farron. We've just kind of expected him to nail absolutely everything, that we forget that what he missed was a 53-yarder. And then he comes back in on the next kick that he has and drills that one from 40 something. So like both kicks that it's not like he's missed some gimmies, right? Like both kicks that he's missed this year have been 50 plus yards. It happens. But I think we're a little bit spoiled when it comes to how good he's been to make 25 kicks in a row.
It is funny that you bring that up, because as you were mentioning that, a stark memory that I have was like against Arkansas. Like, if anyone remembers, we had a chance to go up 10 with about like 3 minutes left, and they walked Will out there to attempt like a 50, I think it was like a 54-yarder, and he missed that one at the time. And I remember audibly being like, like, good try, Will, like you gave that one a chance. And then 25 plus made kicks later, and he misses one against Colorado, and it's like, what are you doing? And it's just, he hasn't done himself any favors being Mr. Automatic, but that is with pressure and success, I guess, comes expectation. So
yeah,
I'm not worried unless he misses one this week. then I start worrying a little bit. I'm not worried right now.
I'm not going to start worrying until he misses like something under 50. Like if he starts missing like chip shots, like 30-yarders, whatever, then I think we can be a little bit worried. But those 50-yarders are a low percentage kick as it is, especially for a college kicker. So I think it'll be okay, but we'll see. So I got a couple of hot takes for you. These hot takes are brought to you by Wilner O'Reilly Immigration Law. As always, our show is presented by Wilner O'Reilly Immigration Law. Immigration law can be overwhelming, but Wilner O'Reilly is here to help. With 26 years of experience and a former immigration officer on their team, they've earned a reputation for excellence serving actors, athletes, major companies, and families. They speak 10 languages, including Spanish, and consultations are always free. And now, just for Hype Train listeners, they're offering priority free consultations. Go to WilnerO'Reilly.com and mention the Hype Train when you reach out. Wilner O'Reilly, peace of mind when it matters most. Okay, so first hot take. I think the job that Aaron Roderick has done this year is better than what Jay Hill has done with worse PR.
Ooh.
And that's not a dig. Like, BYU fans are going to hear that and think, I hate Jay Hill. I think Jay Hill is like a top 10 defensive coordinator in college football. However, I think the job that Aaron Roderick has done this year has exceeded the job that Jay Hill has done in context.
I think I can get behind that. Just when you consider where A-Rod had to start the season with this offense, loses his quarterback in the transfer portal over the summer. Well, obviously not to the transfer portal. We know why he left, but quarterback transfers away. You have to bring in a freshman, bring him up to speed. I think with the offensive production, I think I can get behind that. I think that he's been asked to do a lot of heavy lifting, and I think he's lifted where he stood. So I can follow that.
I can get behind it as well. Like, I think, as Trevor was mentioning, the task of getting a true freshman quarterback straight out of high school, finding out he'd be the starter, about a month before the season, probably rivals what Jay Hill's had to do, and especially given the leadership present on defense and the people who have been in Jay Hill's system for a couple of years now in Jack Kelly, Isaiah Glasker, handful of the others, Raider DeMooney. It's great seeing a lot of the youngsters contributing on offense.
So the reason I say this, you brought it up, Trevor, given where the offense, the hand that A-Rod was dealt coming into this year, you expected to have Caleb Etienne get a waiver. He did not. You expected to have Darius Lassiter get a waiver. He did not. You expected to have Keelan Marion. He bolts after spring ball.
Ropati.
You expected to have, what's that?
Ropati as well, yeah.
Yeah, you expected to have Ropati. You expected to have Pokai Haunga. Those are two of your top 3 running backs that you were expecting to have. You have, Jake Retzloff leaves midseason because of his issues, right before fall camp. You have JoJo Phillips, who is supposed to be your wide receiver 2, go down with an injury this year. You've already had Sione Moa go down with an injury for an extended period of time. The turmoil that the offense has been, and for it to be better than it was, I think, last year, has been an absolutely amazing job. Like this year, BYU started, like the preseason projections had them as around the 55th best offense, given what they lost. They're already up to the 35th best offense in the predictive metrics, and that's just going to keep climbing with how the offense has been. They are 3rd nationally in quality drive rate. That's higher than what the defense is doing. In terms of success rate, they're 26th, and I think the defense is 27th in terms of success rate. Like, again, given what I'm not saying that the offense is better than the defense. And honestly, it's silly to have that discussion because they're all on the same team. But I think what the offense does well allows the defense to do what they do well. Because when you're playing this, and everyone hates it, like everyone hates to see BYU go into game control mode when they're up 21, but it's just what BYU does, and it's what the entire coaching staff has agreed to. When you shorten the game, when you allow your opposing offense to have fewer plays, they start to press. It's just how it works. Like if things don't go well early, they start to have to throw the ball a little bit more. They put the ball into harm's way. So again, like I keep for A-Rod really hard just because I feel like the fan base is unnecessarily hard on him. And so someone's got to do it. So that's going to be me. So glad to see you guys are in somewhat agreement.
Yeah. Now that you mention it, this game feels a lot like 2021 USF. Like the game was just never in.
To me, it's way better than, because that game ended up being like an 8-point game. Like,
sure. Like score,
that.
Yeah, more like same idea though. Like get out in front, score points efficiently as an offense, like get a couple of touchdowns off of big plays, and then hand your opponent just enough rope to hang themselves because of the way that they move the football. Like they primarily run on the like ground and pound, run the football. It's kind of ugly, but you're never going to lose that game ever.
Well,
we weren't going to lose in 2021. We weren't going to lose Saturday.
And you could tell the way that West Virginia called that game late. They didn't think they were going to win either. They were just trying to build something. Like they were just trying to prove to themselves, yes, we can score a lengthy touchdown drive on this team. And so like they themselves were going on these really long extended drives. But again, like I get it. It's annoying, but like the offense is probably a top 25 offense in the country this year, but it just doesn't feel like it because we already have this preconceived notion that A-Rod is no good, but whatever. Second hot take. Bear Bachmeier is already a better quarterback than Jake Retzloff was.
I can get behind it.
I think that takes ice cold, bro.
Like, has BYU, did that, everything that happened over the offseason, did BYU fall forward?
Yes.
I don't really know the argument against it. Like you could use the strength of schedule argument, but like Bear Bachmeier is top 25 nationally in passer rating this year as a true freshman.
How many plays a game did Jake do something where you wanted to put the remote through your TV. And now compare that to how many times Bear's done that for the 5 weeks he's played. And there's your answer.
He's better. He's more accurate. He takes care of the football. He is a better runner, in my opinion. Like Jake's been awesome running the football this year. I am shocked with how well Bear has done in that department. Like, and he holds on to the football.
I was going to piggyback on some of the things you said earlier, like it's both of you. One of the main differences that stands out between Bear and Jake, which doesn't always have to be a comparison, but since we're comparing, is basically his placement on the throws. Like you mentioned, to Chase is the beautiful route. He puts it only where Chase can get it and doesn't have to slow down. That was one of the struggles that a lot of the receivers had with Jake, was he'd put it a little low. They'd have to kind of baseball slide to get it. They'd have to stop their momentum to basically just secure the catch and go down. Bear is generally putting it where on the routes where it makes sense, where his receivers can keep running and run with it. And so it opens up the offense a lot more when we're not just getting 15-yard chunks on plays where it could be a whole lot more. We're getting some of those longer bombs now that Rod's kind of letting him throw deeper down the field.
Next hot take. The offensive line has played better than the defensive line this year. I think we all expected the defensive line to be awesome this year, and I think they've been pretty good. I think the offensive line has played better. Which I hate these comparisons of inner team stuff, but like I think as fans we do it all the time.
My only pushback on that is I think my expectations one I think the very beginning of the season, like expectations clouded a lot of different things. I had no expectations for the offensive line. Like, sure, figured Andrew Gentry was going to be good. Like, figured that Jota was going to be all right. You know, Bruce Mitchell, you know, had some dog in him, and you know, Lapuaho and you know all these guys. But like, you know, you lose Caleb Etienne and different things, and you're just kind of like, hey, like, as long as they can piece together something pretty solid, like between LJ and Sione and, you know, these guys, we should be okay. Whereas like the defensive line, you bring in Keanu Tanavasa, you bring in, you know, Kirtland, like these guys that you expect big things out of. And I just kind of realized as the seasons progress that just BYU defensive tackles, like they're doing kind of exactly what BYU defensive tackles have done in the past, except for better, from the standpoint of they just create a whole lot of mess up front. They're not getting a ton of sacks. They're not getting a ton of pressures, which I think we were all expecting, right? Because Tanabasa lived in the backfield when he played BYU last season in Salt Lake. But what they're doing so well right now, like you mentioned that stuff rate against West Virginia, that all starts up front. That starts with Tamopeau, like Tanabasa, like those guys just making an absolute just train wreck in, you know, of an offensive line up front, and then having Isaiah Glasker and Jack Kelly come in and just clean everything up. I think that's the other part of it too, is Jack Kelly and Isaiah Glasker shine because that's like their job. Their job is to go in and to do all the flashy stuff, whereas this defensive line's going in and just making everything really messy. And we know that like BYU fans don't always love messy, or maybe we don't, you know, maybe we don't grasp it or whatever the case may be, because I'm guilty of it too. But they just create so much chaos, which is just such a Jay Hill thing to do. They just create so much chaos up front that I think they're doing almost exactly what they need to do. There's just not quite the stats. There isn't a mess stat. There isn't a train wreck stat. It's stuff rate, right? But at that point, Isaiah, Jack Kelly, Sarah, like the safeties, they're the ones getting all the tackles for loss. So I don't know if I agree with that one. I'm actually going to push back on that one.
I think to your point, I think we need to be careful about box score watching defensive tackles. Like I've seen those screenshots of Keanu Tanavasa's stats float around the internet. If we're really talking about box scores with defensive tackles jobs, it's like box score watching an offensive lineman. Okay. Like yes, a defensive tackle will have stats. Generally, that's not their job. So I think Keanu Tanavasa, he hasn't quite lived up to the expectations, but he's far from playing poorly. Like he is far from a problem on this BYU defense. And honestly, like again, first year in this scheme, I think there's some technique things that he needs to work through a little bit. But you go watch. There's a couple plays in this West Virginia game that he's still getting in the backfield. He's still getting pressures, but like it drives me nuts when I see people box score watch a defensive tackle. It's ridiculous.
Well, I think if Keanu had like a better box score, I don't think Glasgow or Kelly look as good as they have. Like it's just the only one. I mean, for the most part, like only one person gets credited typically for a tackle, right? Like they do like half a sack or whatever, but for the most part, like only one person gets a tackle. And like I said earlier, like these linebackers it's just hungry hippos out there. They're all grabbing them. And I think we kind of forget sometimes that there's assist guys out there too. And right now it's the defensive line.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, half the time when there's a play where the running back kind of gets stopped, their momentum stops, they have to change direction, and then Jack Kelly's there to clean up. No one's thinking like great play, Keanu, but like it's happening every other play. Like the defensive line's getting a lot of pressure. A point for and a point against Joe's hot take. I remember against Stanford, Bear got crunched quite a few times. It's hard to know exactly how many of those times were him failing to like slide the protection one way or not recognizing a blitz versus missed assignments on the O-line. On the defensive side, where we've mostly gotten gashed is some kind of, I said, poor eye discipline on some read options where the quarterback bounces it out wide and Glasgow or Latui or whoever else is on the edge is kind of crashing in or just not watching as they should. So there's been a handful of mishaps, but both have played at a really high level. So it feels like we're picking hairs here, and it's a good problem to have. But
the counterpoint to the counterpoint is BYU was allowed 4 sacks this season, and 3 of them came in that Stanford game. Yep. In every other game, it's been 1. And that 1 sack that Bear took was because he rolled out of the pocket, tried to run it, and then just got tackled for a loss. Like, so in terms of like traditional in the pocket sacks, BYU hasn't allowed a single one outside of that Stanford game, which most of those we can agree were just miscommunications. Yep. Again, really, really impressed with what the BYU offensive line has done. Last one, and this one is going to be really controversial.
Oh boy.
Because you guys know how much I love Jack Kelly. I think Jack Kelly is the 4th best player on this defense. I think Isaiah Glasgow, I think Evan Johnson, and I think Falatau Satuala are all better. Better is a rough term. And you can honestly even throw John Tamwai-Peau in there, who is the 3rd highest graded player on PFF.
Oh, man. This is... I hate arguing, like...
against your own players?
No numbers... Like I'm fine to have this discussion. It's just so tough because my counterpoint to this is another intangible. Like Jack Kelly is so clearly like the heart and soul of the defense, and there's no measurement to that, right? But the guys love him and they rally around him, and he just seems to just be kind of involved in everything. And so it's like, yeah, again, like not filling up the box score, but is Isaiah Glasgow gets a pick to seal the game against Colorado because Jack Kelly is finding out what Caden Salter was eating for pregame snack. You know what I mean? Or like Satuala is getting a safety because Jack Kelly blew the crap out of the guy that was supposed to be making that block for him. They're all reaping the benefit of Jack Kelly, who's just, again, like sometimes he's the guy and sometimes he's the assist guy. Like he's like prime Russell Westbrook. Like he's just triple doubling all over the field. You know what I mean? Like it's just, and then it's hard to remove that.
The only demerit I can possibly give Jack Kelly is tackling. Like he's always in position, but he doesn't always make the play. Sometimes he over pursues a little bit. And I think that's, you guys know how, like, everyone here should know how much I love Jack Kelly. I'm on record fighting with Hunter that this is the best quarterback tandem that BYU has ever had, with Isaiah Glasgow and Jack Kelly. As a pass rusher, Jack Kelly is the best pure pass rusher that BYU has had since Kyle Van Noy. Like, is that fair to say? In terms of what he does well, Jack Kelly is amazing at those things. I think that is just a massive testament to how good Isaiah Glasgow, Evan Johnson, and Falataus Atawala are at what they do. Like, people don't know the name Falataus Atawala yet. That kid is a freak. He is a future, like, he could be a future first-round pick. He is that good. He can play all 3 levels of the defense if he wanted to. He's the only his only flaw is that he's a sophomore. So I'm really high on this kid naturally.
I mean, you brought him up, but there's been national pundits that have used Kyle Hamilton as a comparison. And I mean, he was one of the best defensive players to go through Notre Dame and frankly in the country that season ever. So
yeah,
he genuinely, he's so athletically gifted. And to go along with it, he's just intelligent and he makes the right play.
So you guys know that the NFL passer rating, if you spike it into the ground, is a 39 passer rating. Mm-hmm. Passer rating when targeting Evan Johnson this year, 12.
You're 3 times more successful just throwing the ball into the ground. That's kind of wild.
That is correct. And then also, if we want to get Trey Alexander into the mix here, his passer rating when targeted is 24. So not quite as good as Evan Johnson, but BYU's got a heck of a tandem at cornerback. All right, let's go to
real quick. I want to put a button in this, and I want to revisit in 2 weeks when we've played slightly better quarterbacks that aren't as much of a I guess Dampier obviously can run, but like I want to see how that holds up against some better passers. Like I'd love to see this week will be a great test of that because Jack Kelly, for the most part, was the key to neutralizing some of the more mobile QBs that we've seen, especially Salter. Like I think everyone remembers that well. I'm curious to see how the cornerback tandem, and hopefully we get Cabella back soon in the slot. I'm curious to see how that holds up versus some better passing opponents before I say yes or no. Like,
so here's where we move. Here's where we move to Arizona. No. The next 2 teams that BYU will play, I think, are the worst wide receiver rooms that BYU has played since Stanford. I think ECU has some dudes in the wide receiver room. I think Colorado definitely has some dudes in the wide receiver room. Just ask Patreon Boy. And I think West Virginia has some good players. The only flaw is they didn't really have a quarterback that could get them the football. Arizona, I think, according to PFF, has the 8th worst wide receiving core in the P4. Only teams they're ahead of are teams like Virginia Tech, UCLA. You wouldn't think Michigan would be on that list, but Michigan's wide receivers are terrible. They have, I think their drop rate is something like 9% this year. Not great. They don't really get open. The difference is Noah Fafita is a dog. So in terms of covering, I actually feel really good about that matchup this week with Arizona. Against Utah, I definitely feel good about it because Utah's best wide receivers also play defense. But we'll get to that next week.
Yes. It'll be interesting. Speaking of, we talked about Kingston getting his swagger back. I mean, I feel like Noah Fafita's got it back too. The only thing missing is Teteroya McMillan, right? Who was just he's an animal and he's crushing it in the NFL too, and I'm happy for him. But I feel like there was a recipe for success created against Fafita last season, and I'm interested to see if Jay Hill feels like that's something that they can go back to again, if that well is still open. And this I was thinking a lot about this actually before we got onto the show. That game last season with big noon kickoff and all those, all that fun stuff. That game was close up until the defense decided to kind of like stiff their necks and just like shut everything down, right? It was the Jacob Robinson, acrobatic turnover to start the second half, and then it was Isaiah Glasker knocking the football out and having oh no, what's his name? He plays for Cal now. Taggart.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I feel terrible. Once a Coug, always a Coug, I swear. But like Taggart falls on the fumble, and then they get the pick six later in the game. I'm looking for the defense to do something similar here. I don't feel like outside of Evan Johnson's, 2 interceptions, I don't feel like there's been a defensive like takeover quite yet. Like we haven't seen a Kansas State from last year. We haven't seen like an Arizona type takeover. There were parts of the Utah game that were like that last season as well. This is, as much as we talked about the needing the emergence of the receiver room and Parker Kingston specifically and all these different things, like I want to see the defense take control. I think the offense is going to have its own struggles, like with this defense with Arizona that's a lot better, like significantly better than it was last season. But I think they'll find ways to manage. A-Rod will find ways to adjust. I think Bears, going to figure things out at some point in the game. But I would like to see the defense, compared to like NFL Street, I'd like to see them activate a takeover in this game and really get things rolling. I think you're muted, Joe.
Nothing.
So anyway, while Joe figures out his mic, Chandler, what are the differences that you're seeing? Obviously, we played Arizona last year, opened up a can right at the end of that game, especially. What to you are you looking for that's going to like lead to BYU getting out of Tucson with a win?
Yeah, I think this is going to be, I'm going to, little asterisk here. It's going to be our best test yet. I think there's kind of a common sentiment that maybe this is like our first real test. In college football, I don't think there's any such thing as like a guaranteed win. We've never lost against an FCS team. I wasn't super worried about losing to Portland State, but like we just saw a UCLA team who had never led a single moment of any other game beat these quote unquote number 7 team in the country in Penn State this last week. So it's hard being 5-0. Last year, we got to the same point by playing really good complementary football. There were times where the offense really struggled and the defense was lights out. There were times like against Oklahoma State where the defense, for whatever reason, like just couldn't get a stop and the offense balled out and did what they need to get the win. This is going to be our best test yet of if we can play complementary football. And that could go either way, right? If the offense is lighting it up and the defense kind of, let some things go through, then, we'll see what happens there. It could be the other way around, like where it's a total stalemate. Neither team can move the ball, and we'll have to see how well of complementary football we can play. I think we're going to learn a lot about this team this week.
I'll be interested to see as well. There's been, for a team that's 4-1, I feel like Arizona's struggling to get people in seats. There's been, they had Gronkowski do like a little like PSA, and then the coaches are asking people to show up, and fans and media members are telling people, hey, like don't sell your tickets to BYU fans, like show up to the game. I think they knocked down tickets, like every ticket in the stadium's like $58 or whatever that number was that I saw earlier that they announced today. And I'm interested to see for a game, like I know I've talked a lot already about the game last season. I felt like the crowd played a big role, like in the momentum, in how everything kind of played out last season. And so like my initial thought was, well, they're going to have all of that this year. And now I'm not sure. I think somebody else said, hey, between I think Joe kind of pointed this out in the group chat, so hopefully I'm not stealing your thunder, Joe, but he was like, oh yeah, between, it being a big game and only have both teams only have one loss between them, and it being a night game in Arizona, and BYU fans, like it should be a sellout. Like they had to include Cougar Nation in there to get to this sold out crowd. And I think if you have to do that, the crowd is not going to be as pro Arizona as I think you need in order to have kind of that momentum swinging kind of potential behind you.
We talk about the logic there as well of lowering ticket prices to keep LDS people out of the stadium. Like it's gonna be a whole lot of families of 5 in blue. Yeah.
Can you guys hear me now?
He's back.
Yes, a little quiet.
So 100% agree on the fans thing. Like this is, in terms of hostility, I don't think this is going to be the toughest environment BYU will play in this year. I think there is one key difference though from the game that BYU played last year to this year, and that's Arizona's defense. Last year when BYU played Arizona, their defense was absolutely gutted by injuries. I think they were missing like 3 of their top 4 secondary players. This year, they're all back, and the secondary is, by pass efficiency rating, the 3rd best secondary in the country. Quiet matchup in this game. We have 2 top 10 pass efficiency defenses playing against each other in this game. So in my opinion, that's probably the matchup most to watch. Genesis, they have what? They're 2nd in success rate per drop back, 3rd in passer rating allowed, 4th in coverage grade according to PFF. Their top 5 highest graded players on PFF are all in the secondary, all of them grade above an 80. So this is a really freaking good secondary that BYU is going to be going up against. The counter to that, of course, is that they haven't played an offense as good as BYU's. In terms of offensive efficiency, the best team they've played this year is Iowa State. Iowa State is ranked 50th in offensive efficiency per FPI, and they gave up 39 points to Iowa State in a game that was never close. BYU is ranked, I think, 34th. So they do have a better offense efficiency-wise than Iowa State. So we'll see if that kind of holds true. But it's difficult. Arizona's kind of in the same boat we are, that like they've been super dominant against the teams that they've played, but they haven't really played a ton of great teams. So it's hard to know how good they are. But I think I feel safe in saying that this is a really, really good Arizona State secondary. And if Bear can pass on these guys, then that spells really good things for the rest of the season, because this might be the best secondary BYU plays this year.
Yeah, and to your point, Joe, you brought up the defense being riddled with injuries last year. I'm pretty sure it was either their first or second drive of last year's game, like their best available defensive player was kicked out of the game for targeting. So
yeah, that's true too.
It's a different. It's a whole different ball game. Not only it being in Tucson, obviously, but just the guys that they're bringing back.
But that's the biggest difference between last year's Arizona team and this year's. Like the offense is probably the same. It's weird that like Noah Fafita has been awesome, but their offense has just kind of been okay. I think they're like 45th in efficiency this season. So they're not the most incredible offense in the Big 12, but like Noah Fafita should scare you. We've seen him do it. Last year, the key to containing him was pressure. BYU generated 30 total pressures last year against Arizona. That was easily a season high. They were just in the backfield constantly. So the good news for BYU's defense is that Noah Fafita still holds on to the ball forever. If Jack Kelly does play and Isaiah Glasgow does play, then you have to assume that BYU is going to cause the same kind of problems that they did for Caden Salter, because stylistically, Fafita plays very similar to Salter with just a much better passing ability and slightly less running. But in terms of like holding the ball for long periods of time and occasionally taking bad sacks, that's it. Because he's being sacked on about 20% of pressures this year. but that time to pressure is really high. So again, if he's getting sacked, it's because he just holds on to the ball for too long.
Yeah, it very well may come down to who can contain the other team's quarterback better with their legs, right? Like we're seeing
100%.
Yeah.
It's whatever quarterback plays better in this game, that team I think is going to win. Because I think both teams have capable quarterbacks, but it's like I know that Arizona's run game isn't great. They're okay. If I think BYU is going to be able to stop the run, it's can Arizona generate big plays in the passing game? And then on the flip side, like can BYU continue to play good, clean football against an Arizona team that has a bunch of ball hawks back there, especially at safety? Like these safeties are really like freaking good. Genesis Smith is where is it? 14th best coverage player in the country. Their safety, like he's a dog. So it'll be BYU's best test of the season so far. Also, I forgot the last hot take I wanted to give. This game marks the beginning of what Aaron Roderick called the toughest stretch in BYU history. BYU hasn't played a top 50 opponent yet this year, and they're about to play 6 in a row. Every team that BYU plays the rest of the way will be better than the best team BYU's played so far. So it's going to be a tough stretch. I still think BYU goes 5-2 or better in that stretch of 7 games. Like starting with this game against Arizona, because I love what Arizona brings to the table. I think it's going to be a really, really good test, but that Iowa State game kind of lingers for me. Like to watch them get dominated that way, to watch Noah Fafita kind of revert back to bad turnovers like he did in that Iowa State game. BYU's defense looks a lot closer to Iowa State's defense than it looks to, I don't know, Hawaii or Kansas State even. What's the other conference game they've played this year? Oklahoma State, definitely better than Oklahoma State. So it's hard for me to think that Noah Fafita is going to be an awesome quarterback when you're going up against what I think is one of the best secondaries that BYU's had in some time.
If we go 5-2 in that stretch, y'all are more than welcome to stay at my place in Frisco when we go down for the Big 12 championship game.
100%. Like BYU's, and that's honestly not even that big of a hot take. Like BYU's favored in 6 of their 7 remaining games. Granted, all of those games are within like a 5-point spread, but they're still favored. So it's, I don't know. I think BYU is really good. I'm worried that BYU, if they do win, they're not going to get the credit that they deserve. I'm sick and tired of listening to national shows and they keep saying like, BYU's non-conference scheduling has been trash and they haven't played anybody. Like I get it, but neither have most of the teams in the top 25. Like we're in week 5. Most teams play cupcakes in their first 3 games. And then just, unfortunately, BYU got 2 of the easier teams to start conference play, but let's go hot takes, predictions. We do want to do our Odeon Menswear Player of the Game. Look good, feel good, so that you can do good in the most important moments of your life. We love our people over at Odeon Menswear. I wear my suit every single week. It is a banger. Trevor, did you get yours yet?
Oh yeah. I wore it on the show. I did. It made its debut at church for my daughter's primary program. And between having to wrestle my son and watching the primary program, there was some work put in, and it held true the entire time.
How about you, Chandler?
I love my suit. Like I don't have kids yet, but I teach primary. I've been blessed with a color like that. And as much as it stresses me out when we get interrupted or when the class is going rough, at least I'm doing it comfortably, right? Like it seriously is one of the most comfortable suits I've ever had. And yeah, I can't say enough good things about it. Like I love it.
So our 3 nominees for player of the game in this one were Chase Roberts, LJ Martin, and I'm going to throw Parker Kingston in there. Parker, you mentioned it, Trevor. He's got his swagger back a little bit. 111 yards on 4 catches, 2 touchdowns. Hard to argue with that. Like he's proved me wrong a little bit. I realize now that A-Rod said in coordinator's corner that Bear threw about 10 passes to Parker all of fall camp because he was hurt most of fall camp. So I guess that kind of makes the first couple games make sense. Hunter's best take of the season is that the Stanford or the ECU game was week 1 for the receivers. So, and they've been great ever since. So I think we're going to give it to Chase Roberts. Hard to argue with 40 yards of reception. However, I think there's definitely an argument that, LJ and Parker, they scored the touchdowns for the team. So you kind of got to give them a nod.
One of my favorite one of my favorite developments from Saturday to today. Did you guys see that X page that they take like the top 5 fastest like that a play like miles per hour that a player reaches? So I have to laugh just a little bit because they were talking to Parker after the game, and I guess Chase, after he'd gotten tackled on that go ball from Bear, he was like, "Man, like I wish I had your speed." And Parker pretty slyly was like, "Yeah, man, you need to unhook the trailer." And then like realizing that Chase hit a faster top end speed during that entire play compared to Parker's that went for a touchdown, that just kind of cracked me up a little bit. You can't use the term unhook the trailer and be slower. That just doesn't work. Now, that being said, he did score, so maybe there's something to it, but I had to defend Chase just a little bit because the unhook the trailer comment, that's a rough one. That's a tough one for anyone with speed that likes to run fast to hear. That's a soul punch. You know what I mean? That's not just a glancing blow. Like that's to the chest.
Oh man. So we're going to do our picks. Let's go around the Big 12 to start with that. Excuse me while I pull up the Big 12 conference schedule. Anything else you guys any good jokes?
I was just thinking, like, Trevor, are you saying Chase is sneaky athletic, or what term are we using
Deceptively
there?
athletic.
Deceptively quick.
It's really to work every day and works hard, and
he's 6'4". It's a height thing.
Chase is fast. Like no one thinks he is because he's built like a tight end, but that dude's got some wheels. I think he can make some money in the NFL at some point.
He's the Derrick Henry thing where he's huge and tall, and so you're like, oh, he doesn't seem to be like that fast. But you're like, oh wow, his strides are like.
Here's the thing.
I think if he gets invited to the combine, he's going to test really well.
Chase and Trey suffered from like long leg efficient runner syndrome on Saturday. Or Friday, excuse me, where I just realized I've been saying Saturday this whole time, and they didn't play on Saturday, they played on Friday. Those two run very efficiently. I've mentioned this on the podcast before. I got in trouble like several times in high school because my coach was just convinced I was never running as hard as I possibly could. And it's like, my guy, look at the separation that's being created, or just like look at just hints during plays that indicate some sort of speed. Like the fact that I know Trey got caught, and I know that Trey's frustrated that he got caught. Trey got tackled
had a 10-yard head start.
He had a 15-yard head start. He's athletic, and he got tackled illegally at the 1. Like Trey's fast, and Trey, I know. I love the competitiveness, and I know that Trey's going to house the next one just because his pride won't allow him to get caught again. But between him and Chase, I'm just so tired of everyone being like, man, they're slower than I thought. They're not. They just run faster and more efficiently than you're used to seeing because they're not all herky-jerky and wasting movement.
I gotta say, it's awesome having them and then contrasting that with Cody Hagan, who no one will accuse of running efficiently, but he is running as hard as he can every time he touches the ball. You can just see the effort, but like it is just like
Cody Hagan and Tyler Algier, both, everyone's like, these are the fastest guys on the planet. And they are. They're fast. But they waste so much motion. Tyler Algier had that weird little heel flip thing that he did every time he ran down the field. And Cody Hagan runs like a duck. But he's the fastest duck of all time. But I just put some respect on Chase and Trey. That's all I'm saying.
Fair.
Oh, your mic's out again.
Oh, no.
I think it's the connector to like the mic stand, if I had to guess. Every time it goes out, it tends to be that. But
is that better?
Yes, he's back.
Let's go. All right, let's start here at the beginning. UCF Cincinnati. Cincinnati is an 11.5 point favorite. This game is being played at Nippert.
I'll take Cincinnati. I mean, they just beat one of the best teams in the conference in convincing fashion. Like, no reason to pick against them at home.
This game will show to me whether or not Cincinnati's legit, because it feels like the most Cincinnati thing ever to beat Iowa State and beat Kansas in dramatic fashion and then lose to UCF at home. But I think since he's legit this year, I'll go with the Bearcats.
This one feels like Cincinnati feels a lot like early season BYU last year. The only difference is we beat SMU and they lost to Nebraska. Either way, that last week was their Kansas State moment. This week is their Baylor moment. It's just like, we know that they're good, which, by the way, I predicted preseason. That was the one game that freaked me out more than any, because I do think Brendan Sorsby is really freaking good. I'm going to say Cincinnati wins this game. I think it's going to be close. I think UCF probably covers, but I think Cincinnati's the real deal. Houston. Oh my God. Houston, Oklahoma State. Houston is a 14.5 point favorite on the road.
Yeah, I think Houston wins and covers significantly.
I am so sick for Oklahoma State fans. Like, sincerely, the best people in the conference. It's brutal what they're going through right now, man.
Yeah, Houston, we have no problem this weekend. They roll.
I'll take Houston as well. Like, I can't bring myself to believe in Oklahoma State, and it feels like their season's semi-over.
It's over.
Like, maybe I'm being too nice
dead.
there. I'm mincing words.
But it's over, and there's no masculine urge to say we're back. Like, it is, it's bad down there. Iowa State, Colorado. Iowa State, a 2.5 point favorite in Boulder.
As much as it pains me, I'm going Colorado here.
I think so too.
I mean, Colorado. I mean, sorry, Iowa State has lost both their corners for the year.
Yeah,
and it showed
it's like their top three guys. They had another dude get injured against Cincinnati.
Oh, really? Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I can't really blame any defense if we lost our top three corners. Like, our team changes overnight. Like,
our defense would be horrible if we lost our top three guys.
Yeah.
Look, Iowa State is good. I really admire the way they fought back in that Cincinnati game. Colorado is going to wreck someone's season this year. Like, Colorado has played every game they've played pretty much has been a one-score game. I saw what you did, Josh Hoover. I know TCU won that game by 14. I saw what you did. Okay, that game was close. At some point, Colorado's got to figure it out, right? Like, at some point, Patreon boys got to be right about Caden Salter.
Sincere Brown's gonna finally do it, man.
Like, Colorado, I think, had 3 turnovers in the dumbest way possible in that game. And again, they've played nothing but pretty much ranked teams. Like, Georgia Tech is really good. BYU is really good. TCU is pretty good. And all those games were one-score games. So at some point, I think they're going to find a way to break through. I think Iowa State is reeling a little bit right now with their injuries, I'm going to take Colorado in that one.
I think I'm going to roll with Iowa State. Just a bounce back game feels like right in Rocco Beck's recipe book, and I think he cooks up. I think he cooks in this game. So
TCU, Kansas State. Are we on fraud watch with TCU?
It's funny. It's funny that you bring that up because TCU, like the letter of the day here is T, because it's TCU and it's trends. Like TCU started the season so hot, and then it just feels like they've started trending down from there.
Bill.
Right. And so it all depends on what the morale is going into the game for Kansas State. Like, I think if the team holds strong, if Avery Johnson can rally the troops, if you can get guys like Giddens and Jace Brown going, and Jace Brown can keep his dang helmet on, I think Kansas State has a shot in this game.
They've been in dogfights. TCU has been in dogfights all year. Like SMU was a dogfight. They wound up winning that. You know what? TCU is the anti-BYU. I said it. Like, no one scores more front door cover touchdowns than TCU. Like,
well, if we knew that, Joe, TCU's been the Antichrist for years.
Like, if TCU, like if Kalani had Sonny Dykes' mentality, BYU would have been a playoff team by now, because we'd be slamming the door on teams instead of scoring with 30 seconds left like they seem to do. I might go with the upset here too. Kansas State, again, they're going to ruin somebody's season. They should have beaten Baylor, man. They were the better team in that game. I think they're getting their mojo back. TCU's defense isn't very good, and I think Avery Johnson is going to start finding his stride here pretty soon. Give me Kansas State at home.
I'm rolling with the Wildcats.
I'm not a believer. You mentioned
TCU's a 1.5 point favorite. That's crazy. 4-1 versus 2-4.
I'm going to go with TCU. You mentioned TCU being in dogfights. I do think that they've been overrated since the UNC win on national television, where everyone's like, "Man, they're smoking Bill Belichick and his team." And
their offense is good. Don't get me wrong.
Oh, for sure, yeah. Kansas State was in a dogfight with an FCS team just like 3 or 4 weeks ago. So I don't know. I can't believe in Kansas State as much as I think maybe others. But so yeah, I'll take TCU there.
Kansas, Texas Tech, 14.5 point favorite.
Tech at home.
Yeah.
Wreck them.
I like Kansas. I think Texas Tech is a legitimate top 5 team in the country this year.
Despite an underwhelming new logo revealed today, I have Texas Tech at home.
I have some hot takes about that too, but we can save those for off air.
if they lose this game, you got to bring the old logo back.
Rebevel it. The late night game, Arizona State, Utah. Utah is a 5.5 point favorite.
You haven't said where they're playing yet, which means give me Arizona State.
It's at Utah.
Oh yeah,
well,
give me Arizona.
Whittingham just realized that they're 0-5. Just like he just learned that.
Again,
he just learned that.
He's either negligent. He's either negligent or he's a liar. Like it's just golly.
His answer to that is that sucks. Sure.
Like, can we stop talking about Rice Eccles Stadium as being this crazy intimidating place to play now? Like I agree it's a hard place to win, but it's hard for the home team.
Here's the thing, and I'm gonna sound like a total BYU fan, like just hate watching this game. This feels like the most Arizona State game ever. Like just the hatred and the vitriol that Sam Leavitt is going to get in Rice Eccles is going to turn him into He-Man.
I disagree. I think he's going to be just one of the boys. I think he fits in great up there. I feel like Sam Leavitt makes lots of soaking jokes.
I just Yeah, but he's wearing the wrong color of red. There's a little too much maroon and burgundy in there. This is just like the most Sam Levitt like pop off game where he's just gonna do like him and Jordan Tyson feels a lot like Noah Fafita and Teteroa McMillan last year, where it was like kind of close, and then all of a sudden the Stars kind of flex their muscles. And in this case, I think the Stars are a little bit bigger and brighter currently on Arizona State.
Yeah, I'll take Arizona State as well. Like Utah's been consistent, no doubt. They're a good team, but Arizona State's been the hotter team as of late, I'd say. And just to second that, Jordan Tyson is getting top 10 NFL draft. Like he's in those conversations. He's probably going to be the wide receiver 1 in this upcoming class. So yeah, it's hard to see him not having a big game, especially against the Utah secondary.
Here's the thing. I'm going to take Utah because if Utah wins, we get bid noon kickoff in Provo next week. Mark it down. Also, I think Arizona State are a bunch of frauds. I really do. I think that Arizona State is everything that people thought BYU was last year, winning one-score games at the clip that they have. It's not sustainable. Sam Levitt's a fraud with bad hair. I just do not believe in. They got Kenny Dillingham in practice with the Super Soaker while Sam Levitt's wearing spandex in practice to prepare for like rainy conditions in Salt Lake City. Like, get out of here.
Those Levitts, man. Like,
I see.
It's corny.
They all suck. All of them. Throw them all out.
Everything about that program is just corny. I might hate them more than Utah right now.
I see.
That's your hottest take thus far, by the way.
I see what Joe did there, though. I don't know if anyone listening caught that, but Joe picked Utah to win, but he hedged the heck out of if Utah loses. Called Arizona State a bunch of frauds.
No, that's the other. If Utah loses this game, buddy, we are on fraud watch. Okay, we are on such fraud watch for this Utah team because again, like Arizona State had no business winning that TCU game. They blew it against Mississippi State. Like they were in a dogfight against NAU for most of that. Like I do not believe in Arizona State. So if Utah does win this game, whoo, buddy.
Joe called for a Utah win and set up a hedge so beautiful you could run it around Georgia Stadium.
All right, game of the week. BYU at Arizona. BYU is a 1.5 point favorite.
I'm going to say 28-17 BYU.
I'm going to go 28-24 BYU. I think this is going to be a close one. I don't know. Fafita's, I think Arizona is going to turn it over more than BYU does.
I'm going to go 31-28 BYU. A lot of the scores coming on some more explosive plays. Both defenses being stingy, but just allowing something breaking every once in a while. We win by the field goal there. Wolf Aaron maybe playing the spoiler.
My hot take in this game is that BYU has 6 turnovers and sacks combined in this game. I think they're going to get a lot more pressure than Fafita has faced against other teams this year. Again, 20% sack to pressure rate. I think BYU is going to get home, and if they don't get home, they're going to force some errant throws.
I'm gonna say that Tanner Wall gets Noah Fafita again. I called Trey's last week, but it's going to T Wall this week. I think Tanner Wall with the interception.
Love it.
I think we're going to lean, especially with the Arizona secondary being rather stingy. I think we're going to lean a lot on LJ. Give me 200 rushing yards as the team total. Not for LJ alone. 200 rushing yards team total. Bear's going to get plenty of carries. It's hard.
It's hard in the first half. I'm not
It's
gonna
hard to
lie.
split. It's hard to split that between like. I feel like any LJ touchdown prediction of like he's going to score twice is Bears going to immediately vulture those. I think 200 yards as a team leaning on the rushing attack heavily to set up the pass play action screens, etc.
Love it. Well, we're trying, guys. We tried really hard to do a segmented show that is a nice tidy hour, and somehow we're getting longer. So we'll keep refining it. We'll get better. We'll watch the tape and get better next week. But when things are good, there's a lot to talk about. So Cougs by a billion this week.
Go Cougs.